And now I am pleased to introduce our presenters for today. So like I said, we have Deanna Myers and Melissa Rager from Blended Schools Network. Deanna has worked in public education for 21 years in various roles, including Director of Instructional Technology, Instructional Coach, and Teacher. As the Blended Schools Network Director of Curriculum, she works with teachers from various school districts to lead the design and development of over 190 courses for K-12 students. Melissa is the School Support Coordinator for the Blended Schools Network. She is a Pennsylvania certified elementary and early childhood teacher, and she has worked with K-12 students in various teaching and administrative roles. We also have Alicia Ross, who is a social studies teacher at Blue Ridge School District. Alicia teaches AP Macroeconomics and AP U.S. Government and Politics, along with general classes in economics and global issues. So thank you again, ladies, for joining us today. If you are ready, Deanna, I can go ahead and share the screen with you.
That would be just fine. Okay, Sarah, would you like me to go ahead and begin?
Yes, you can go ahead anytime and get started.
All right, well, good afternoon, everyone. It's great to be here with you to talk about our credit recovery program that we use SoftChalk very heavily in as part of our design. I'm going to first start by letting Melissa talk to you about how the program works, and then I will get into the design and development along with Alicia's help as so that you can get some of the back or inner workings as to why we made certain decisions about our credit recovery program. Alicia is both a credit recovery program teacher for our Learning Institute, and she's also a course developer for us. So she will be able to speak to both roles. And Melissa is, as you see here, the school support coordinator, but she's really the coordinator of our Learning Institute too, hashtag, or however you want to say that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Melissa to let her talk about the program itself.
Deanna, if you want to go ahead and advance the slide. All right, so we just have a brief agenda there for you, and Deanna had gone over that, so we don't need to go over that again. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about first, if you want to go one more there, about who is Blended Schools and what is Blended Schools Network. Just again to give you a little bit of brief background information on us, we are an organization dedicated to providing robust, engaging, and learning environments to a network of schools. We work with school districts and we work with charter schools as well. We are primarily in the K-12 kind of realm, and you can see we provide a couple of things. We provide curriculum, technology, professional development, and support services. We also provide, and it's all inclusive. But in addition to those 4 areas, which I'm gonna more focus on our Learning Institute today. Our Learning Institute is where we do the credit recovery. So you can see I have a slide here. Initially, when we started all of this, we were considered a language institute. And the Language Institute primarily had world languages for elementary students through high school students. And some of them were enrichment at the elementary and middle school level. And then we also have high school level world language courses offered. Through those high school courses, we also offered a dual enrollment option where students could receive credit from Seton Hill University here in Pennsylvania. However, we had so much success with our Language Institute because we had live sessions with students, teacher-led live sessions, similar to like we're doing now. And we found that to be a very successful model where students were successful because they were engaged with teachers. And obviously, whenever you're doing a language, you need that, you need to be able to speak with the teacher. You also need to be able to write. And so this environment is perfect for students. So we decided we needed to expand that success beyond our world languages because we saw a real need with some of our schools needing instruction outside of just languages. So we've now become the Learning Institute. In the Learning Institute, we're still doing world languages with those dual enrollment options, elementary through high school, but we've also expanded to doing some core courses as well. So we have semester-based core courses available for our students and for our schools that we work with. We also have electives available. So for example, we have phys ed and we have psychology and art history. And then also a big piece of that is our credit recovery, and that's what we're here to talk with you about. And just like with our world language program, we've still instituted those live sessions, which we think is really important. So what are we offering as far as credit recovery goes? We have a list of courses available, and our courses are limited at this point. We are newly launching this program, but we're pretty excited and confident that these courses are going to run well. So you can see we have 11th and 12th grade English, Grammar and Composition, Algebra 1, High School Physical Education, Biology 1, U.S. History 1, and Civics and Government. The credit recovery program for those courses that you see, we run 3 6-week sessions. We have one beginning here shortly next week. We also have a summer session running from June until August, and then a second summer session from July until August 15th. Although we do have these date sets, we can do customized schedules, and those are available upon request. So if those schedules don't exactly fit into your school calendar or fit into the needs of your students, we can certainly customize the schedule that are available for your students. So what makes our program different? And there are several pieces to this. Number one, each student receives a customized plan prior to doing, while they're doing the credit recovery program. And Deanna is actually going to talk with you more about that when she gets into the curriculum piece. They also receive problem-based learning, which is different than a lot of other credit recovery programs. And once again, Deanna will talk more about that with you on the curriculum end. We also do the live sessions, and I'm going to talk with you more about that in a moment. But once again, those live sessions are important because they're that student's getting teacher contact. We also have mentor support. This is something that our previous world language courses did not have, and we're excited about this piece. If you've worked with students in an online environment, cyber environment, where you have limited face-to-face contact with them, you'll know that sometimes your students can get off task. Sometimes they need some additional support. So that mentor support really is there to make sure everyone's staying on track and staying where they need to be. We also offer discounts for students who are eligible for free or reduced price lunches, which is nice for our students. So what are the supports? I briefly talked with you about the mentor support. We also have teacher support. So within the teacher support, you're receiving those live sessions, and then also, of course, emails from teachers to check in and things like that to make sure they're on the path that they need to be. But once again, that mentor support, what's happening with that mentor support is that they're communicating between the teacher, our schools, students, and parents. So everybody's in a loop as far as how that student's going. Where can we help that student specifically? What can we be doing as a group so that student succeeds? So that mentor support. And that mentor support might vary depending on a student. You know, we realize there are some students out there that may not need as much support as other students. So that is going to vary, but we do provide it, and I think it's going to help a lot of students a long way. And that mentor support is done through phone calls, emails. So there's a variety of ways that we're offering support to students. And I think that this is a great way. You know, they're just not getting an email from somebody. Those phone calls, if needed, are there. And then they're also documenting all the supports that they've been using. So they're going out of the way, and we have a documented list. Hey, we've made touch with this person. They were struggling with this. These are the steps that have been taken so that we can support those students in their process better. I talked to you a little bit about our live classroom experience. So I told you with our credit recovery, we do have live sessions. All of our courses meet live Tuesdays and Thursdays from 4 to 4:45 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Students must attend one live session a week. The other live session that is available, they can attend. They are certainly welcome, or we would like them to watch the recording. These sessions, like I had talked to you about, are meant for students to get that individualized attention from the teacher each week, so that we are making sure that they're staying on track and they're receiving some direct instruction as well. This is an example of what that may look like. This is kind of the technology. We use Blackboard Collaborate technology for these live sessions. This is obviously an example of one of our world language live classrooms going on. So you can see that you have audio and video for students, tools for interaction. There's a chat box just like we're going here. The presenter can share slides, images, or websites, and the students have the chance to interact on those slides, images, and websites as well. So obviously the big question here is the pricing. And you see at the top here, once again, your students who are eligible for free or reduced price lunches are getting a $50 discount. You'll see here that we also have per enrollment for students in a blended schools member district. So if a school is a member of our blended schools, that is the price for them. If they are not a member of our blended schools network, then the price is $230. And we do register individuals outside of school districts. So if there is a family out there somewhere that needs a credit or a course for a student, they don't have to do it through their school. They can come to us and we can work with them to get courses. So this is not solely just for schools. This is for anybody that's in need.
Melissa, we did have a couple of questions come in.
Sure.
The first one is, what is the staff-to-student ratio in the credit recovery program for the live sessions and otherwise?
Great question. At this point, it looks like our student-to-staff ratio will be no more than 15 in a course, and then they'll be branched out of into other courses as well.
Okay, great. And then on your previous slide, Rebecca asks, is the 215, is that for one semester of a course?
That's just for our credit recovery, so that's for one 6-week course.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Those were the only two that I noticed for now.
Okay, great. I do have my contact information up here, mrager@blendedschools.net, where you can find me on Twitter or Skype at the following names. And I will be here the rest of the presentation, so if you do have additional questions that you want to ask about, please do so. I'm going to hand it back over to Deanna.
Thanks, Melissa. I want to mention, Melissa talked about the the ratio. She said 1 to 15, but that's not including the extra adults involved with the mentoring process. That's just a direct instructor to students. So there is that additional adult in there that we really feel strongly about. So I'm going to get, oh, no problem. I'm going to talk a little bit about the research behind the design and kind of the research behind what a lot of Melissa was talking about, and hopefully give you a little peek at what a course looks like. And Alicia, just so you're kind of aware, feel free to interrupt me at any time if you want to add anything in, Alicia, as we go through this. And we're going to be demoing your U.S. history course that you did.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Alicia, before we start, do you have anything you want to tack on to what Melissa talked about with the actual teaching part of it? Because now we're getting into the development, so I want to give you a chance that if you wanted to share anything about what your expectations are as a teacher with that.
Well, as Melissa was talking, I was really thinking about an experience that I had before. I had taught online using blended courses, but with a different organization, and the mentor piece was not there. And I really think that that was I think with blended schools, that I think it's awesome that there'll be another adult sort of coordinating, because I might be one of 5 teachers that that student has. And it helps me to focus on the instructional piece and, of course, support the student, but know that there is a go-to adult. I think that is of critical importance. Yeah, so that's what I would say about, and I'm really excited about the problem-based learning and how that's really going to fit into those live sessions, because that the problem-based project is scaffolded. So, part of what you can do is do that week's piece if you
Hold that thought.
Okay.
We're going to get there.
Okay,
Hold that
sorry.
thought.
All right,
That's
spoiler.
okay.
Sorry.
You guys all know how teachers are. They want to get ahead.
Well, I can keep going. I'll stop now.
That's okay. But Alicia does bring out the idea of that mentoring. And this is not just about blended schools. It's about ideas for you to take back to how you're implementing things in your home environment also. So I encourage you to do some research on the nanny effect. And that's what the research was that guided us to bring this mentoring piece in. So let's go ahead and dig in a little bit here. And notice I forgot to finish my slide there. Sorry about that. Just 4. We're only 4. So there are 4 components really that guided the development of our courses. I don't know why the slides keep jumping ahead on me like that. Have any clue on why that's happening to me? No, I can't get back. There it goes. All right, must be when I bump a mouse or something. All right, so there are 4 pieces. Obviously, the very first one for nearly everybody across the nation in K-12 is talking Common Core. So we really needed to look at a credit recovery program that was still robust and relevant, global, all those good words in there, higher order thinking, but allowed us to deliver what is considered a 1-credit course. Somebody asked about credits and semesters and whatnot. We're trying to deliver, we're not trying, we are going to deliver a full credit recovery course to students in 6 or 8 weeks. And you'll learn how we're going to try to do that, or we're going to do that. I should scratch that word, try. And still meet the rigor of Common Core. So the second piece is customization, and you've probably read a lot about mass customization. So we brought that individualizing content into the sphere of the design here. Next is competency-based learning, where we actually give students a chance to transfer their learning or try to build that into the instruction as we go along. And also that if a kid already knows it, that they don't waste their time relearning it or going through the motions to turn in assignments if they already know the content. And then lastly, that Alicia was all excited about there, that we will definitely give its due, is problem-based learning. Every credit recovery course has a problem-based learning experience built into it that's disguised as a project. And one of the live meeting dates focuses on that problem-based experience that students are going through, and we'll definitely talk more about that. Because we were going to do a mass customization, that live instruction couldn't just be a canned presentation from teachers. It needed to be something that really scaffolded the students' learning throughout the 6 or 8 week program. And that's why we brought it, that's one of the reasons we brought in the problem-based learning experience. So let's talk a little bit deeper. Everybody knows about Common Core. Everybody knows that everybody has, almost everybody has adopted them. And that we need to, there it goes again, and that we need to accommodate both the literacy standards and also the content standards. So the next piece is that mass customized learning piece. This is from both of these books, this Innovator Inevitable and Inevitable 2, I believe, is out now. If you haven't seen this research or read these books, there's a lot of research around mass customization, and these books are fantastic that are here. I promise I get no kickbacks from this author, but you will absolutely love the experience. So we try to bring this piece of research into it, and we're just trying to make sure that everything's at the instructional level for students as they go through the content, and SoftChalk is key to making that happen with our LTI links. Hopefully it'll move to the next slide. I'm having some lag on my PowerPoint, sorry. The next one is competency-based education, and I'm sure you've read about this. Nice little diagram there. I'm not going to spend a ton of time because my slide doesn't want to stay, because you probably have heard these things, and you really just want to see the examples, I know. And Alicia can't wait to talk you through some of her examples. But I want you to make sure that you understand that competency-based learning is not just a pretest and then like kids skip stuff that they already know. It's really a deliberate design. It sometimes will come across just as a pretest and then, oh, the kids got it, they can skip. That's really not the whole picture. So I'd encourage you, and I'm pretty sure, Sarah, that they will get the slides, correct?
Yes, and a link to the recording will be sent out.
Perfect. So I've cited everything here, so if you want to go back and do more research, or if you have questions in the end about each one of these research components, let me know and we can dive a little deeper. The last one, and the one that really I want to spend a fair amount of time on because I think it's key to our credit recovery program, is this problem-based learning challenge. And for a kid's perspective, we call it the course challenge, just because we try to word in words that aren't teacher-esque for students. But it's really a problem-based learning experience, and it goes through kind of these bullets that I have here. But basically the idea is it's a statement of a real problem that's very relevant in today's world that ties to whatever the content or the core content is of that course. And again, Alicia's going to talk you through her U.S. history program here and how that works. But there's no just one right answer to it and not just one right route to get there. So their kids are given a problem, and they could take it in, if there's 15 kids in the class, in 15 different directions and learn things differently through the application of whatever background knowledge they have and what they're learning throughout the course, and maybe where their personalities lead them and their cultural backgrounds are also. And that all kind of plays into the whole challenge. And it's, it's not self-contained. That's the best way I can describe it, is that it's not one correct answer. There are correct answers and there are wrong answers or wrong solutions, but there's not just one in either direction, okay? So we are going to show you how those work. Let me, before I go here, I'm going to come on out and let you see, first of all, how we use SoftChalk to develop lessons. And I'm just going to take you real quick because it's not specifically relevant to the credit recovery program, but I am going to highlight how we design each one of our lessons and then how we bring them into Blackboard using LTI technologies. Sarah, I don't know, is there any way for you to do a quick poll or a quick show of hands or something in this technology to let me know if anybody's using SoftChalk with LTI links or Score Center reporting right now? I'd just be curious to anybody that has that background here. And if they don't, maybe I want to take a moment and show them what a report looks like with Score Center in that.
Yeah.
So while she's, go ahead.
If anyone is using LTI, you can go ahead and do a hand raise on your GoToWebinar. And it looks like we have a couple people. I see about 4 or 5 people.
Okay.
that have
All
raised
right,
their
just
hands.
a few. So if we have some time here, I'll show you what a Score Center report looks like and why this is so a tight part of our credit recovery. But you're seeing right now just one lesson out of our U.S. history course, and we use this kind of chunking design with the themes in SoftChalk for navigation. If you haven't explored themes in navigation and what that adds to your course in SoftChalk, I highly encourage you to do that. I'm sure Sarah can point you at the end to tutorials they have on it. But we use this as a deliberate breakup of the getting started activities, the direct instruction, which we call the learn, our guided practice activities, interactions, which are our collaboration prompts that they do actually in the LMS side, and then our checks for understanding. And all these are scored and reported back to the Score Center in Blackboard for teachers. Everything from time on task to date and time they did it, how many attempts they made. We set them all to unlimited attempts, and the best score gets, or the highest score gets recorded to Grade Center because we are that competency-based idea. We want kids to take these 100 times if they want to and get a perfect score. And I don't even care if they write them all down and write all that answers, because what we have now done is we had made them study. So in an effort for them to get that perfect score, if they've taken diligent notes to make sure that they always they can get the answers all correct on this practice section, which hopefully will load here pretty for. If they've taken diligent notes so they can make sure they get a perfect on this, and if they've taken diligent notes so that they can get a perfect on the check for understanding, that's fantastic, because this is only formative. And every time they open it, I get a record of that. And and if I see how long they're on task with it or they have it open, I know that too. I use all that information as a teacher to understand that this is a formative assessment, and it shows me the path that student went on to learn this. So that's kind of how we design every one of our lessons. Whether it's credit recovery or not, our lessons look like that. So let me pop over to an actual credit recovery course here, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what makes it different, or some little tweaks. I mean, it's not really that different, little tweaks we've put in place. We've obviously put in a pretest. This is going to get moved out to SoftChalk also, so that we can get that additional reporting that I was talking about, because Blackboard does some good reporting, but not nearly as good as the LTI and SoftChalk Score Center that we get. So this is getting moved in our next generation to be a SoftChalk LTI link also. But if students gain a 75% or better on their pretest in the credit recovery mode, and only in credit recovery mode, teachers then can allow students to opt out of participating in any of these lessons that are in the unit and or any of the unit assessments. So basically, even though remember I said that competency-based education doesn't mean just skipping stuff. Even though I said that, when they skip this unit, when they pass this unit test with the 75% or better, they do skip this unit. What we have done behind the scenes that a student might not pick up on is we've added this course challenge. That course challenge is absolutely a spiral assessment, a summative type assessment, and learning experience all rolled into one, because we know assessments are all they are a learning experience, and assessments are instructional. So this course challenge has strands that relate to every unit in the course, whether a student gets to quote-unquote skip it or opt out of it anyway. So they are still getting contact for instruction within that, and that live instruction time. So at this point, Alicia, I'm going to let you loose.
Okay.
I'm going to bring up the course challenge piece, and I would really like you to talk them through how you came up with your course challenge. And again, this is all built direct into Blackboard. If this is moving too, if I had one thing to request from SoftChalk at some point, if you ever get a file submission technology, I would bow down for you. Because that's the one thing that SoftChalk's still missing that we have to rely on the LMS for. And because our challenge is so open-ended, we did have to put a lot of it direct into the LMS. So, Alicia, I will let you have the mic, and you can talk a little bit, and if you want me to scroll up or down, just let me know, okay?
Okay. All right, great. Well, for my challenge, what I decided, certainly one of the key things or key components of American History 1, and I actually think of it as the centerpiece, is the Civil War. And it is the first time that we have a draft. And military service, I think who serves is an interesting problem, and I think it's been with us since the Civil War. And thinking about the draft riots, and then as I was kicking this idea around, in watching President Obama's State of the Union address, that moment with the Army Ranger, he had 10 deployments in both Iraq and Afghanistan. And so I thought that would be interesting for the kids certainly to be linked to think about connecting what they've learned about the Civil War, and how that component can connect to a central, I think, idea. The biggest thing we do in a democracy, the most important decision is whether or not to make war, and then it's who fights that war. So what they're going to do is think about solving the problem of how too few of us carry too much of the responsibility of waging war, and how can more Americans shoulder more responsibility. And so it's pretty open-ended, because it doesn't necessarily mean just military service, but it could mean the kinds of things that people on the home front can do, and maybe how they can get more involved. So actually, Deanna, if you want to scroll down, we can look at the parts of the problem. So here's the sort of the scaffold, and I really like that you give the kids a graphic organizer so they can start to brainstorm. And so here's a circle map, and this is with what you're seeing here is a component with any course that you get. These scaffolds are there, and then I mean you can read through this after they've done some brainstorming and writing out their problem statement. Then then they can start to identify possible solutions. And so you can see where we've got several weeks here. It's a 6-week course, so we've got a number of things that we can do in those live sessions where kids can kick. Yes.
I'm going to interrupt you a second.
Go ahead.
I wanted to highlight here that one of the deliberate designs of this is this in the third part here, where students are writing their problem statement. We didn't give students the problem statement. We gave them a problem that the culture has. So now students have to figure out in their mind or in their background, what do they feel like the problem is? And this is one of those places where students will start branching off, and where the instructor is going to have to start making them think deeply about their content. Again, key to credit recovery is we can't do more of the same that happened in the face-to-face classroom. We have to put a different spin on this, and we're trying to tap into passions that are personal to kids. And by them being allowed to write that problem statement, and where they're going to take the research in these later steps, we're hoping to address the learner that somehow, and forgive me, Alicia, because I know you're a classroom teacher. I was for many years, but we all know that you have certain constraints in a traditional classroom, and that if those kids have failed there once, we don't want our credit recovery program to be more of the same. So we tried to build in these individual passions that students might have in here, and this is part of customizing learning without us having to do it. Kids are customizing it for themselves by being making them decide what those problem statements are. Because Alicia talked to you about the draft and the war and the serving, but what Alicia might see as the problem might not be what little John sees as the problem, or might not be what Mary, I hate to use these words, Mary saw as the problem. And this gives kids a chance to really apply their backgrounds to it. So go ahead, Alicia. I'm sorry.
No, right.
I steal that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that it does, some student might think a voluntary service is the way to go, and that there may not be anything. And I think that they, or it could be a home front thing, or it could be bring back the draft. I think that it is wide open. And the big thing that I do as a social studies teacher, and I think here it's built in, is to get them to think like a social scientist. So identifying the problem, identifying possible solutions, looking for evidence to support what you see as the problem and support for your solution. So I think this is grounding them really in the kind of thinking that they need to be successful in a history course.
We did have a couple questions come in. So Tom asks, what grade is this course that you're showing right now?
Well, I think it probably depends on, at my high school, U.S. History 1 is 9th grade. It might be a different grade, but I think 9th, 10th grade is generally in Pennsylvania, but it could be a different grade in another school district.
Okay. So also put on the hat that this is a credit recovery class. So this could be a student, it could be a senior's desperate attempt to finally pass U.S. History to get that credit before they, so this could be a senior in here. So a lot of times I try to kind of take the whole grade level thing away. It's a high school course. It's high school rigor. It's a high school credit, whether it's a 9th grade credit or an 11th grade credit, but it's designed for that maturity of learner. If you want to ask that question, it is designed for a 9th, 10th grade maturity learner. Sarah, you have another one?
We also had Amanda asked if it's possible, can you maybe show a lesson, maybe how you actually used SoftChalk for the credit recovery?
Sure. So any other questions on the problem before we move here, how we did the problem-based learning?
Nope, those were the only two that came in.
All right, so I probably should try to pull one up that had student data attached to it. I'm going to open this one right now. This would be one of the SoftChalk LTI links that we have built in. And if I have some time, I'll switch around and show you one that has some student scoring based on it. But I think most, you can see most of this, or at least envision what it would look like without a score center. So when a teacher opens this up, or when a student opens this up for the second time, they will see this screen. So if a teacher opens it up, I would see all of the students down here in the, where it says right now, no learners. You would see every student's attempt in a list here. And sometimes this does get long, and that would probably be my only complaint with how this views here. Is so every time a student attempts, you would see a list, you'd see their score, and you'd be able to drill down. And like I said, if we have time, I'll try to grab one that has some student data attached to it and bring it over. I'm always hesitant because K-12, you got to be really careful about student privacy. But I'll take you a little bit around how this is designed. So you can see right away that it's his last score, and this should be changed. This is a bug in Blackboard for us. Grading method should be highest score. It shouldn't be last score, but every time you copy a course in Blackboard, it defaults back to this. So I just haven't changed this after I made the copy. And we allow unlimited attempts, so students can open this as many times as they want before to get the best score. This particular lesson is worth 27 points. You can change the grading levels. So as a teacher with credit recovery or anything else, even though blended schools might design it one way in our master courses, and that's how we work. We create a master course, teachers copy it and use it, and they have editability rights in there. They can't edit all the SoftChalk items. They can request edits for those, but they can definitely do these type of edits to change. So I'm going to change this to highest score right here and just click it. Now you'll see this says highest score. I can change the maximum attempts to any 1 to 10 or unlimited. I'm just going to leave it as unlimited. And I can also force completion of all of these. So I just wanted to kind of give you an idea of what you could do. Now, because I'm logged in as a teacher and I made an edit, I can't launch the lesson anymore, so I have to close this. I'm going to launch it one more time for you, and I'll show you how it links out to the lesson. And it's going to look very similar to the lesson I showed you in the preview here. So I'm going to go out to view the lesson, and it will tell me I'm connecting to the Score Center. I think it will tell me. I'm hoping it will tell me. What has happened now is I've launched the lesson and I'm actually connected to our BSN cloud, which is our proprietary SoftChalk cloud. You could do this with a SoftChalk cloud login just direct from SoftChalk also, and I'm sure Sarah can help you with that. But as students go through here, they earn points as they navigate through, and I'm sorry it's moving a little slow. This is our direct instruction piece that really has no points to it. You start to earn points at the practice area. And I know we have some SoftChalk newbies in here, so I just wanted to talk a little bit about how we just do our guided practice piece. It's almost always some sort of activity in SoftChalk. This one happens to be a crossword. You'll see right away that this particular activity is worth 10 points. I can click finish, and it will give me all the answers. And this is where kind of the rubber meets the road with the idea that we want to force students to take notes and to study. So literally, I can hit finish here, and I can write all this down. Inevitably, my phone will ring while I'm talking. Hopefully you're not hearing that. Kids can take down these notes, and then they can hit this restart button, and then they can fill that in exactly and get a perfect score. But what we have done is we've made them have that guided practice experience without them even feeling like or knowing they did it. So we do allow a restart on the guided practice area. So they can do this as many times as they want without relaunching the lesson. When you go to the check, however, the check is the full lessons check for understanding, and when they grab these, they do this quiz, they will get a response. And Alicia, just look the other way when I take this test here. I'm just guessing, really. This is a big one too, of course. They have to hit check your answers. I'll see that I didn't guess very well. I got a 3 out of 12 on here. And now you'll see my overall score for this lesson so far is a 3 out of 27, because even though I hit finish on that crossword, I didn't actually do the crossword. So if I go back now to do that practice, I can actually do the crossword. Give me one of these.
Is that first you've got J?
Can you give me that one? How about 3 down?
Okay. Oh, secretary.
Here.
There you go.
Finish, and gave another 5.9 points because I only finished 2 of them, so it only gave me 2.9.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I would say it might be neat for people to see the like the note taker in there, and that kids will Is that a reading assignment there?
Yeah, I'll go back to the Learn. I had kind of skipped over the Learn pretty quick because it doesn't really highlight a lot of what SoftChalk does and what the basing the points and the competency-based learning, but it is a necessity because this is where students are given the new content, being introduced to the new content. In here we always have some sort of note-taking prompt where we try to get kids to, whether they do their note-taking in a Word document, that they do it online, or if they actually print out and do it the old way. We found lots of K-12 kids still really want to take notes by hand, so we've kind of prompted them to require it. You'll see some reading assignments in most of our courses, and you'll also see a direct instruction video, which most people are doing these days, and we're moving into adding captioning to our videos in here. But it is worth noting that that's where the direct instruction piece comes along. We are textbook-free courses, so it's not like you're referring to pages to read. A lot of times you'll see things like this digital textbook that she's linked to here. When you're all done, we hit the conclude button here, and SoftChalk's going to it would prompt me to hit finish, but I have done the no thing. There is an issue with SoftChalk that if you're logged into the cloud in SoftChalk as an instructor and you launch an LTI link in SoftChalk, you will not get this finish button, which should show up right here if I wasn't logged into the cloud. I'm logged into my cloud second because I wanted you to see the other side of the design, because the design happened in SoftChalk. So you don't see the finish button, but I think if I close this and I come back, it may or may not see my attempt. No, that doesn't record my attempt. Hopefully that helps a little bit, but then the idea is that teachers look at, and I'm going to try here while we're regrouping to see if I can find a course that has a little bit of data in it so that you can see. Just give me a moment. And we're just going to try to divert your eyes from over here. I know that nobody knows these kids, so if I move that off, maybe, there we go. This is how it reports the attempts. And you know, as a teacher, you can drill down and look at each individual attempt for students, and you can actually see very deeply how they did on everything. You can also see up here that this was actually an incomplete attempt that I pulled up. I can see the time and date they started it, and they didn't complete it, so there's no completion piece. So I can change their score, and I can add a comment for them. I can also come over here and give them feedback direct to it right at the lesson level. And this, I think, is absolutely key to engaging a learner online and engaging really a credit recovery type student that is an at-risk student. The more feedback and the more engagement a teacher can have with students and looking at this data, the better off we are. That's why SLOs, and student learning objectives, have gotten so much traction, because it's directly designed to how students do on assessments and building their objectives based on how well they have done on previous assessments. So think of this as it is a formative assessment that helps you analyze where students at, and it really offloads a lot of that stuff that you used to spend time checking and puts it on the student's onus and gives them the control on completing this stuff and doing these formative assessments, and allows you to give them some feedback and spend your time redirecting their understanding instead of checking papers. So hopefully that gave you a little bit of what a how the power of SoftChalk and the LTI links specifically are with having your own cloud account. Sarah, I'm going to breathe for a second and see if there's any other questions.
Okay. Actually, I don't see any other questions, but if anyone does have any questions, please feel free to go ahead and type those in the questions panel and we can answer them.
We also, just on a side note, we also do we do a journal reflection, and that again still has to happen in an LMS that you're using SoftChalk through. And it gives a chance for a safe interaction between teacher and students in a written form, because Common Core is pushing so much for writing and deeper understanding and developing that. Every one of our lessons ends with a journal reflection for students. So, but that is not part of the SoftChalk install. Alicia, anything else you wanted to share about how we use SoftChalk from a development standpoint?
Well, I'm a big fan of SoftChalk. I just think it's one of the nice things about using the LTI link is that if you find a typo, or if you, like I did I'm currently working on an AP Government, U.S. Government and Politics. That content is going to change every year. So I could plug in, I could update content, and it's changed then for everyone who has the LTI link. So I think that makes things a lot less cumbersome, that you can update your content. If there is a typo, it's fixed for everybody when you do it in the cloud. So I think that really, as a social studies teacher, really recommends the cloud for me.
Yeah, and that's a good point, because if you're building content and you're sharing it, we know that building online content is very, very time consuming. So we share a lot of our content with all of our members and teachers. If you're doing that kind of scenario back in your home school, if each one of you are doing a unit and you share it, updating and using each other's LTI and hyperlinks is a great time saver. And Sarah, I don't know what you guys are up to about your free learning objects that are up there, but Blended Schools does provide from our website direct access to, and I'll bring it up one second here, direct access to all of our Unit 1s that are based on our SoftChalk cloud. You do not get the hyperlink for free, or the LTI link for free, but all of our Unit 1s hyperlink and embed code is free for every one of our courses. So if you look at our cloud computing course, you can do a preview, which sends you right to our cloud, and you can check out for free here if I know how to do this real quick. You'll see access to the content is $0 for the Unit 1. So this is a good way that if you're considering SoftChalk and you want to play around with what hyperlinks look like and how you could use them, you couldn't, with these free hyperlinks, do some of what I talked about with the Score Center LTIs, but I mean, obviously we do sell the LTI links for a very nominal fee. But I know SoftChalk has some free resources that are available via the SoftChalk cloud also that are very good.
Yes, actually we did. We just launched SoftChalk Share, which is our learning object repository. So if you go to softchalkcloud.com, you can access SoftChalk Share even without a subscription. Anyone who's made their learning objects public, anyone can go in and use those learning objects. And if you do have a SoftChalk account, you can actually edit and modify learning objects in the repository and customize them for your own. And we do offer a 30-day free trial, so if anyone is new to SoftChalk and would like to play around with it, we do offer a free trial.
Yeah, so Sarah, I don't really have anything else. I mean, I guess I should come back to my slides and at least finish up my slides.
We did have a couple of questions come in. Ginny asks, how long did it take you to set up a lesson, or how long does it take you to set up a lesson?
So I'll let Alicia answer that one since I'm the director and I just tell them that they have to do it.
That varies. I think it depends. If it's something that and most of the stuff I've developed, I've taught. So a lesson. Gosh. Okay, this is a hard question.
I'll let you off the hook because
thank you. What do you think? I'm
So
overthinking this.
You are overthinking that, but that's why we love you. I will tell you that by working with, and I've worked with hundreds of developers through the years, we do always have a developer that's working in a content area that they know really well. Mm-hmm. So I would consider them a content matter expert in the area they're developing a lesson. So take that in because that is very meaningful. I would say that most people will tell me anywhere from double or triple the time that the lesson takes for the student. So if the lesson, because all lessons aren't created equal, right? Because some lessons might take the student an hour to get through, some lessons could be a 4-hour lesson, or you could have a 30-minute lesson. So I would at least multiply it times 3 if you're a beginner. Once you get really good at it, you might only need to multiply it times 2. I'm an elementary certified teacher. I've created a lot of the lessons that are in our elementary courses through the years, and I would say that I'm at about double time right now to create. So that's a good rule of thumb. If you're directing a program and you want to kind of decide how you're going to pay teachers, I would definitely use that 3-to-1 ratio. If you're looking at investing the time yourself, I would definitely there. But I have had people like Alicia that might take 4 or 5 hours on a 1-hour lesson. And that's not a bad thing. That's a great thing. Because
right, I would say
means you're very detail-oriented. Go ahead, Alicia.
Right, I was just going to say, like, in the AP government class I'm doing, I might have 3 or 4 video lessons and readings to link to, so there's going to be more content there, where when I design the civics and government, I would say it's probably that 3-to-1. That's probably the time span that works there. So yeah, not all lessons are created equal, but I think that's what Deanna said is a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, I was going to show you an example of, we all know that the AP courses or the higher level, like a pre-calculus course, definitely take more time to put together. Because there's just more content. So it's not only that there's, I'll probably pick one that's a short one, won't I?
I don't think,
is there content in this one?
There is content in this, yes. Yes.
So I'm picking on Alicia live.
Yeah, because this is in development.
She's developing right now. But depending on how deep that lesson is, in this Learn page, I do limit them. They cannot have a video presentation that's any longer than 5 minutes, and I see she snuck an extra 27 seconds in this one.
I was hoping you would notice.
I notice everything.
Uh-oh.
Oh, Alicia, 6 minutes and 37 seconds. You can tell this is
I think I tell a joke or something. It works out.
I would not let her, I'm not going to let her off the hook here. This has got to be 5 minutes or less, and that's why they will have multiple lesson presentations. Because research has said that students disengage after a certain amount of sitting and listening or reading. And that's why we break it up like that. And there is some thought that we're going to start building some activities with SoftChalk in between each one of these lesson presentations. That's probably a design change that's going to come soon. But not all lessons are created equal. Long answer to probably a fairly simple question. Sorry, Sarah. Anything
That's
else?
Okay. We did have one question. How many states have blended schools or use blended schools?
Boy, Melissa, if you're still there, you probably know better, but I think 6 or 7. We're still almost mostly in the state of PA because that's where we got our roots 10 years ago. But I know we have, pretty sure we have Maryland, Ohio.
That's pretty accurate, yeah.
That's pretty accurate. California, Texas, Georgia. I'm probably missing a couple, but we're starting to grow just recently outside of the state of Pennsylvania. I would say in the last 18 months we've started to even look to work with districts outside of the state. So we're excited about where this might be.
Okay, and then we have one other question. Are your courses, are the blended schools courses available to be added to other schools' desire to learn sites?
Sure. I will answer this question. As I flipped back to our marketplace, you can come on the marketplace and buy any access to a unit or a full course. If you wanted to buy a unit, it's $30. You get an email with all the LTI links, and all you have to do is put your LTI links and assemble it in the your LMS. And you'll get a curriculum map here that gives you the full scope and sequence that you can follow or you can change depending on you. And because it's delivered via an LTI link from our cloud that Alicia touched on, every time we get a report through our help ticketing system, we fix that in that master LTI link, and all those fixes get pushed out to people immediately. So if there's a little typo or a broken link, because we do use sometimes websites, as you saw in Alicia's activity for the reading assignment, that would get fixed and pushed out immediately. So I don't, and I'm not a good salesperson. I'm a curriculum person, and you could tell, like, I get all excited about talking about the course design. There's the course. I don't know how much the course costs. And this is just for, like, a single teacher to use. If you wanted to buy it for a whole district, there's different scalable pricing and all that good stuff. And if you go to the website, I think there's somebody's name here. Ignore this name because she doesn't know. But Mark will take care of you if you want district pricing. But for $100, you can get a full course. And we design courses in semester chunks. So it is only a semester of the course. It'd be $200 for a whole credit course. Get all the LTI links, and you're off and running in Desire to Learn or whatever LMS you're using now. And I say whatever, but it has to be one that SoftChalk has worked with also. So because this is all delivered from the cloud.
And SoftChalk works with virtually any LMS, so we haven't really found one that hasn't been compatible.
There's a couple that the LTI link won't work for, so like LoudCloud and some of the ones that are a little bit more obscure.
Right, the LMS has to support LTI. Yeah,
then they have to support LTI to the function that it brings student scores to the gradebook. A lot of LMSs will tell you that they are LTI, but like LoudCloud is LTI just to do one-way content, not to deliver that score back. So you need an LTI support. Somewhere in here, Sarah, I thought there was a list of that you have Score Center support with.
Yes, there is. I know there is a list on there. I'm not 100% sure under which tab it is.
It may be this one right in here.
There's the Desire to Learn.
Yeah, I knew Desire to Learn is a good one. It's definitely fits well. I can vouch for that Moodle, Blackboard, and Canvas all work really well. Those are all the LMSs that Blended Schools works direct with. So yeah, and not only Blended Schools content. I'm sure there's other people that do have the content like Sarah said on their share site that you can pull from too.
Yep.
But it's a great way to start if you're just getting into it, is to start with something already made and learn from that, and then start to get your feet wet, because it is a lot to undertake to develop a whole course and then teach it, even with SoftChalk.
Mm-hmm.
And we do have time for one more question. So Ginny asks, give your definition of blended school.
Oh, my definition. Melissa!
How did I know you were going to pull me into that one?
Well, I had to make sure.
Well, that's a loaded question. I think a definition of a blended school in the traditional sense would be really the blending of the cyber world, the blended world, and then like a perfect world.
I like
as
all
far
those
as blended schools network goes, as you can see on the slide that Deanna has up, it is the combination of curriculum, technology, professional development, and the support services. We support both blended environments and cyber environments and everything in between.
And Dan, are you still on the line too? We also have with us Dan Lucas, who is really our blended learning specialist with blended schools. So if he's still there, I'm going to make him put his mic open. And Dan, would you like to give the official definition of blended learning as Blended Schools Network defines it?
Sure. So when we're talking about blended learning, we're talking about combining traditional brick and mortar education with online learning with specific goals in mind. And those specific goals are to empower students to make choices about place, pace, time, or path. So how they go through the course, where they go through the course, what that course consists of, are going to build a blended program. So it could be a flipped classroom where you let students go home and learn, or it could be a flex classroom where students work through online courses with teacher support in an environment where they choose the path through that curriculum and the teacher's just there to provide support. It really is an inclusive thing that brings under its umbrella many different models where online learning is blended with face-to-face, again, with that ultimate goal of student control, not just sort of the fiddling that a lot of schools do that we wouldn't classify as blended learning. So I hope that was clear and succinct.
Awesome, Dan. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Sarah, so that should help them to understand what the Blended Schools Network is about as far as us working together as a consortium, but also what we're trying to change the way a traditional classroom views bringing into technology and blending in some of those online options.
Yeah, I think that was a great definition. Well, I don't see any other questions that we haven't answered. Oh, actually, one more. Are your courses based on the project-based learning concept?
So the full course is not. Only because it is just not something that we could make happen in a scalable fashion for the whole course. We've started to infuse that blended learning or that problem-based learning experience. I will tell you that, give me a chance to show you the other thing that I'm kind of passionate about in our courses. Each one of our courses has project-based learning in an authentic form. We've tried to bring in that problem-based learning, which is a whole other realm that we're really getting into with our next version of courses, and that's where credit recovery courses definitely have that in, and our next version of courses will all have that problem-based learning challenge experience in there. But currently all of our courses have a project in every unit. That project in every unit could be problem-based, but is not in all cases. But it is an authentic project that puts students in a real role. And the role, when I always tell teachers, do not put them in the role of a student. So they are not in a student role. This is a real, live, authentic role. This is an example that I'm showing here that you will see in one of our courses, and I think this was that cloud computing course that I opened up. So it gives a chance for students to apply in an authentic way what they've learned during the unit or through the unit in in a more open-ended manner, and it's also one of the summative assessments in that unit. So there are projects built into every unit of all of our courses. I wish I could say that problem-based learning was part of every single unit, every single lesson, but that would just be false. We're working on it. If you have any insight or direction and advice on it, I'm all ears, because that's just an area that I'm passionate about, and I just haven't found a good nexus of how that works in the online environment yet, to be quite honest with you. But we're getting there.
Great. Well, I think we've answered all of the questions. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to add before I wrap up?
I don't know if anybody else on the team here does, that's here with us today.
I just wanted to add thank you, everyone, for taking your time to listen to us. And if you do have any questions about credit recovery, you can certainly reach out to any of us. You can also visit our website at www.blendedschools.net. And you can find out more information by clicking the Learning Institute and going to Credit Recovery.
I finally got to the last slide. All right. Well, thank you, Sarah. I had fun. Hopefully the attendees had fun and learned at least one thing new today. And I look forward to connecting to people. My Twitter handle is just Deanna Mayers. I'm sorry I don't have it up there. If you want to tweet me based on today's presentation, I know SoftChalk's doing some tweeting during the session. I'd love to hear, like you said, your feedback and your thoughts, and maybe how you think we can be doing things better, because there's always room for improvement. So thanks, Sarah.
And thank you, thank you all of you.
Oh yeah,
so
and
much.
thank you, Sarah. I had a great time too.
Of course.
My contact information is it's alicia.ross4@gmail.com, and I'm on Twitter at Ross_Alicia. That's ALICIA.
And I also, Deanna, if you don't mind me taking back the screen, I also have your contact information as well as Alicia's, and mine as well, if anyone has any information, if anyone has any questions on SoftChalk. Oh, wrong one.
I love to see when someone else makes that mistake.
I always try and get it right. But again, if anyone would like any more information about SoftChalk, you can send us an email at learnmore@softchalk.com, or if you want to send me an email, I'm Sarah, S-A-R-A-H, @softchalk.com. We do have a lot of training materials on our website, so feel free to check those out as well. And thank you again so much to our presenters and to everyone who helped put this session together. We hope everyone enjoyed it.
Thanks, Sarah.
Yep, and I will leave the slide up for a few minutes so everyone can get the information down. But other than that, I hope everyone else has a great week.
Thanks, everyone.
And if I forgot to mention, you will be getting an email with a link to the presentation and slideshow.